Good morning, everybody. Today for science we are going to be learning about matter, how matter can go from a solid to a liquid and to a gas, the different states of matter that we have and the different types of matter that we get. Now, over here on the board you can see that we have three pictures. Can you tell me what is the first one that we have over here? Yes, who? What's the answer? Ice. Yes, it is ice. And ice is what state of matter? Is it a solid? Is it a liquid? Or is it a gas? Hand? Yes, what's the answer? And ice is a liquid. That's not the answer I'm looking for, but you're not wrong. And ice does change from one state of matter to a liquid and to a gas. But this is a solid. Now, how does ice go from a solid to a liquid? You need to put heat. Yes, we need heat in order for ice to melt. Once ice melts, it moves from a solid to a liquid. And when we heat that liquid up, it also goes to a gas. Now, over here, we have our liquid state. When this melts, we get this. And then when we apply heat to a liquid, we get gas or steam or water vapor. Now, that's just a general idea of what we're going to be learning today. Now, let's take a look at our next slide. Matter. Can anyone tell me what is matter? Matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. What is matter? Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Volume. Matter is made up of small particles known as atoms. Matter can be presented in different states. You remember we spoke about the three states of matter? Solid, liquid and gas. These are the three states of matter. Over here, the atoms are packed closely and tightly together. In liquid, matter is packed loosely together. That is why water can slosh around in a bottle and why we can move water around. Here in the last stage, which is gas, the atoms are packed so freely or packed so loosely together that they rise up. That is why steam, smoke and other gases all fly around. It looks like they're flying. Now, take a look at our next slide that we get over here. Mass. What is mass? Does anyone have any idea? Who? Mass is how heavy or light something is? Let's see if you are correct. Mass. Mass is the quantity of matter in a body is called mass, or mass is dimensionless, but mass does have weight. So you are right. Next slide. What are the properties of the different states of matter? What does the word property mean, boys and girls? Anyone have any clue? Property is anything that you can notice about something, anything that you can see about something. For example, take a look at this man over here. What can you tell me about him? He is very fat. Would you say that he eats a lot? Yes. And what can you tell me about this man over here? He is very, very thin. He takes care of himself. He works out a lot. I look like this man over here with my big belly. Now, that is a property, boys. Something that you can see about this person and something that you can see about this person. Now, let's take a look at the different states of matter. And the different states of matter, as we said, are a solid, liquid, or a gas. Now, here's the three states of matter. Over here, these are examples of solids. Here are examples of liquids. And here are examples of gases. Now, I want you to name me two examples of solids. The pencil and the ice. Good. Number one, I want you to name for me two examples of liquids. The tea and the water. Yes, you are correct. Those are two examples of liquids. Now, Bun, I want you to name for me two different examples of the gases that you see here. Water vapor and steam. Correct. Yes, good job, guys. Now, on to our next one. Let's take a look at solids. Solids is matter that has a certain volume and a certain shape, right? Now, that is a property of solids. They have a certain volume and a certain shape. All of these things here, guys, are solids. If we break them, it would be very, very difficult for us to put it back to its original shape and size. We have furniture, kitchen utensils, electronics, books, clothing, food, vehicles, and footwear. Again, boys and girls, all of this is examples of solids. Now, let's take a look at our next one that we have. Liquids. What is a liquid? Liquid is matter that has a certain volume but a shape that can change. A solid, a shape that could not change easily. A liquid, a shape that can change. For example, if I fill an empty water bottle up with water, the water will take the shape of the bottle. If I fill a container of water, the water will take the shape of that container. Now let's take a look at the examples of liquids that we have. Oil, water, blood, mercury, and milk are all examples of liquids. These are all examples of liquids that can change its shape, that can change its volume when it is used. Now, let's take a look at gas. A gas is a state of matter with no fixed volume or no fixed shape. So, here we have air, helium, ozone, carbon dioxide, and water vapor, which is all examples of gases. They can move freely around. They rise. There's a saying, or there is a rule when it comes to gas, boys and girls. Warm air rises, cold air sinks. That is why when you see someone smoking or when you see steam from a kettle, the steam and the smoke is always rising. Why? Because it is warm air. Warm air rises, cold air sinks. Now let's move on. What is matter? Matter, boys and girls, is everything around us. Everything that's around us is made up of matter. And matter is made up of particles. Over here you can see that this is a solid because the particles are all packed closely together. Here is a liquid, and you can tell because all the particles are loosely packed. It is not able to move around. It is able to move around a little bit, but not a lot. And then here we have the gas. The particles are so loosely packed together that they're moving all over the place. And that is why it is allowed or able to move or to rise. Now, let's move on. Over here is a picture of a city in Thailand, Pattaya. Can you name for me the different types of solids, liquids, and gases? Remember, sometimes we cannot see a gas like oxygen or carbon dioxide. We cannot see it, but it is still around us. That is how we are able to breathe. Over here, you can see that there is water, which is what state of liquid? Japan. Water? Water is a liquid? Yes, 100% correct. So you've given me an example of a liquid. Can anyone now give me an example of a solid? This is a boat is a solid? Yes. The building is a solid? Yes. The sign over here is a solid? Yes. Now, can someone show me or point out to any type of gas? All over here there is oxygen. We cannot see it, but it is still there. Now, let's move on to our next slide. Volume, and let's take a look at the meaning of volume. Volume is the amount of space in any object. For example, take a look at these two balls over here. On one side we have a beach ball that is filled with air. And on another side, we have a bowling ball. Now, these two, which one has got more space in them? This one, which is why it is lighter than this one. There is less space and it weighs more, so it has a less volume. Okay, on to our next one. Now, over here, boys and girls, the worksheets that you have, I want you to write down the descriptions of these, of the pineapple. So you're going to write down the color, the shape, the feel, and the taste. And you're going to do the same thing with this one. You have that worksheet. I'm giving you 5 minutes to complete both worksheets. Start now. Okay, so you finished that? Great job. Let's move on to our next slide. We can do that worksheet later. Now, let's take a look at properties of matter. Over here, boys and girls, properties and matter can change. If I hold a marshmallow over a fire, what's going to happen to that marshmallow? Is it going to stay the same or is it going to change? Is it going to change from a solid to a liquid? No, it's going to partially change. But then, ice cream. Do we get a solid scoop of ice cream? Is ice cream a liquid or is ice cream a solid? It can change when heat is applied. Ice cream will melt. Then we have a pineapple. When we feel it, what type of texture is it? What kind of a property is it? Is it rough or is it smooth? So there's different types of textures in different types of food. Like for example, as we said, the pineapple is rough, but the apple is smooth. And then when we have clothes, when we put the clothes in the washing machine and we take them out, they are still wet, correct? But then when we hang them on the line and wait a few hours, what happens? Are the clothes now dry? What happened to the water that was in the wet clothes? The sun dried the water up. The evaporation occurred. Now, let's move on to our next slide. What's the difference between these two pictures, right? These two are still solids, but they have different volumes and they have different mass. For example, this part here is hollow on the inside, allowing it to float. There's no hollowness in this object to an angle, so that will sink. So there's a difference between floating and a difference between sinking. Now, on to our next, magnets.